that spends all your time on it so that you can't take care of me in my old age. And I will continue to vote for politicians who will absolutely transform the places that I will live in to total shitholes. And we're supposed to take this seriously. And there's going to be an entire movement, and it's starting now. I already see it happening, where the boomers are going to retire and move into these old folk homes and be abandoned there. And they're not going to be abandoned out of spite or malice or any of this kind of horrible shit that they're going to throw at the millennials on their way out the door while they burn the place down around them. It's going to be strictly out of necessity, because we're working our asses off. We're not getting paid. We don't have enough money. And we're going to look at you and we're going to feel empathy and sympathy and compassion for you. And we're going to ask ourselves, why the fuck are they still voting conservative? Why in the fuck are they still voting for people who are actively stabbing them in the back every single day? Doug Ford is attempting to privatize more long-term care homes. He's attempting to jam more people into shithole conditions so that he can profit off of it. And every single person who votes conservative says, I hope the last 20 years of my life is in hell. I hope I live in misery. I hope I'm abandoned to a shithole. My family never comes to see me and I'm completely ignored by everyone. And that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. And these conservatives, they just walk around as if they're king shit. They walk around as if they're the princes of this place. That like, I'm the great, when it was their parents that did the work. It was their parents that did everything. Their parents took to the streets. Their parents unionized. Their parents confronted the Nazis. Their parents confronted the political structures of their society. Their parents did everything so that their children could actually have a free love movement, so that their children could actually get good jobs, to buy houses, to have cars, so that their children could do everything. They sacrificed a fuck ton for the boomers, and the boomers are willing to sacrifice nothing for us. Not one thing. And while they go out the door, they're just going to tell us how shitty a generation we are. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hurry up and die. Hurry up and die. Just faster. Faster. I'm desperate. I know that I just made a video called An Olive Branch to Conservatives. And for fuck's sake, I hope none of them actually see this. But it's absolutely in the heart of my existence. Why are you voting for your own, not only your own destruction, right, but the destruction of your children, while you roll your eyes pathetically and say, oh, if only you just got a better job. Fuck you. Like, fuck you. Go away. Die. Hurry. Faster. Faster. Holy cow, man. Like, it's staggering to watch. It's staggering to watch in real time. People actively betray themselves and their family and their children and everyone around them and their neighbors. It's staggering to watch. It's staggering to watch. And how they'll say these asinine, absurd things because they've never lived outside of a reality where they weren't completely mollycoddled, right? That their parents created a world for them to thrive in and to do well, and they actively dismantled it. They dismantled it so that their children would fail. And then once it turns around, and it will, because they're going to end up in these long-term care homes, they're going to be so confused. They're just going to be like, well, what's happening? My family must not love me while they work 3 jobs that don't pay the bills. Like, you're voting for it. Stop voting for it. It's very, very, very simple. Stop voting for it. Do anything else. Vote for anyone else. Stop voting for it. Stop. Right? Like, you don't really even have to do much of anything. You just have to literally stop voting conservative or liberal. Just stop. Don't vote. Right? If you can't bear the idea of voting for a guy wearing a turban, just don't vote. Right? Like, if the idea of voting for a person who's actually interested in doing something is too much for you to bear, just don't participate anymore. Sit it out. Right? I mean, obviously you can't make decisions for yourself. It's really clear. It's very clear that you can't make decisions for yourself. So just sit it out. Stop participating. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, has there ever been another, and I'm asking my people this. Like, I'm asking, like, please comment on this. I want to know. Has there ever been another moment in human history where a group of people have so effectively fucked themselves over? Actively, have, like, really, really tried. I think you gotta straight up go back to, like, the Bible. I think you gotta go back to, like, Malachi, right? Read some of the prophets talking about, like, the destruction, the coming destruction of Israel. Like, you gotta, like, really, really dig really, really deep and get into some ancient shit to see a people who are so dedicated to the destruction of themselves, their families, their communities, their towns, their cities, their nation, their species. Has there ever been a culture so dedicated to the destruction of the species? It's staggering to watch. It's staggering to watch. And we're just supposed to stand by. We're just supposed to do what we're told. Stand by, right? Oh, things must get better. Are you yeah, I was about to say, are you fucking nuts? But yeah, you are fucking nuts. Like, you are fucking nuts. Like, holy shit. And like, if we survive this, we really need to have a serious conversation. Like, the millennials definitely want to improve the society. We definitely want to do what our grandparents did, which is unionize, organize, fight against politicians, fight against fascists. We want to do all that stuff. We want to do all that stuff. But when we do it, and when we are actually put to it, and we're actually, if we ever get into a position where we get to do legislation or something, we've got to have serious, frank conversations about how to prevent the boomer generation again. We really do. We really are going to have to say to each other, how do we make it so that we don't create another generation that actively attempts to destroy the species? How? How do we do it? Because it's happening. It's happening in front of our eyes. Like, I can't imagine a person, like, walking by someone who is drowning in a pool, right? Drowning. You can see it. They're drowning. And they just go, get a job, and walk away. That's what's happening. Like, and even more than that, like, imagine that person who's like, get a job, and he's walking around on the thinnest ice that you can find, right? He's walking around on this thin ice that's steadily being eroded by the person he's voting for, by the person he's saying, yep, that guy, I want him to run the place. And that guy steadily erodes the ice even more, right? He just heats the pool up a little bit more so that the ice starts to get thinner and thinner. And anytime somebody falls through the ice because it's so thin it can't bear their weight, the conservatives just go, he must have fucked up. He just needs to get a job. Holy fuck. And then when that conservative falls into the ice, well, that's okay, because you know what happens? They get bailed out. Who do they get bailed out by? By the people drowning in the pool. Maybe we deserve it. You know? Maybe we deserve it. I think about that all the time. I think about that all the time. Like, maybe we fucking deserve it. Maybe we just fucking completely deserve the absolute fucking we're about to receive. Because I don't think we pull up. Like, sorry newbies, sorry everybody. I don't think we pull up. I don't think we do. I think things get far worse. I think we plunge into like decade at least, maybe longer, of just an absolute total shitstorm that could have profound altercations on the way that the world functions and operates. Right? We've been living in this sort of like post World War II mania of absurdity for so long that we've internalized so many things that are obviously false. Right? America is the land of freedom. Oh, okay, yeah, right. Like, it's an oligarchy that has like this democratic structure so the oligarchs can talk to one another, uh and a military that it loosely controls, which at any moment, by the way, could simply just say like, wait a minute, we can just own the place. Right? There's tons of historical precedent for this. There's tons of historical precedent for the military becoming so powerful that the society loses control of it, and the military simply supplants whatever ruling class or anything exists. It's happened in Japan. With the samurai. Who do you think the samurai were, dude? Like, what do you think happened there? There's like and there's dynasties of this. Like, this wasn't a flash in the pan and then they reestablished democratic norms. Like, fuck no, dude. Like, they took over. They took over and established a tyranny. And we're just like, yeah, the military. Here we are. It happened in Japan. It's happened in Rome, right? It's happened throughout Europe. It's happened repeatedly where the military just takes over. They just take control. And uh and we are, as Canadians, sharing a border with the largest, most terrifying military force that's ever existed in the history of humankind. It's so terrifying that it could actually eradicate civilization in a day, right? It could just do it. And we're like strapped on to this ideological madness where we can't even get basic services and basic needs met from our citizens out of our government because, they just need to get a job. They should get a better job. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. And like, if it wasn't for like the desperate deadline that we all live under, which is climate change, which will wipe us out, I would just like shrug and be like, well, they'll die eventually. Eventually we'll live in a world without the boomers. Eventually we'll live in a world where like the conservatives can't survive because they're just ideologically empty and nobody under the age of 40 currently supports them. So there's no reason, like, we're not going to suddenly jump ship when we're 60 as they actively betray and abandon us. Like, that's not going to happen. But we're out of time. We're out of time. Like, we don't have the time to wait for these people to die. We don't have the time to wait for an entire generation of people to die off so that we can actually move forward as a species. We don't have time for that. We're out of time. So what do we do? What do we do? Right? Like, I want to extend olive branches to these people. I want to say to them, like, hey, can we find like a middle ground? Can we find an understanding with one another? But I don't think they're interested in that. Like, I don't think they're genuinely actually interested in that. I really think that they're interested in just saying fuck you to the world and burning it down on their way out. I think that that's fundamentally true. Like, I think that they're interested in couching it in this language of moral superiority, which they have no reason to have, right? Like, has somebody ever like Have you ever been high roaded by a 12-year-old? Has a 12-year-old ever attempted to morally high road you? That's what's happening. That's what it feels like. When a boomer attempts to morally high road you, it feels like you're being high roaded by a child who is illiterate, doesn't know anything, is just so disconnected from the world, and refuses to acknowledge the sacrifices of the people around them that got them into that position, right? Like, have you ever met a humble boomer? I have. I have, actually. Like, I don't want to shit on a whole generation. Like, I know this is a huge generalization. You meet humble boomers, you know who they are? They're people who look at their parents, who say, my parents sacrificed a lot. They sacrificed a lot. They sacrificed their lives to working. They sacrificed their lives to political movements, to war, right? They sacrificed their lives uh, uh, for me so that I could have the opportunity to work a normal job uh, and have a house, a livelihood, live in a community with a certain degree of peace, right? Uh, and if you push them, man, like if you push the humble boomer, if you start to talk to them about their generation, you're going to get some tears. You're going to get some heartbreak. You're going to get some real pain. You're going to get some real pain. Because the humble boomer who exist and are a rare breed, the humble boomer sees what's happening. They understand. Right? They see what's happening. Like and it's appalling to them to see a person whose family and whose community and whose culture thrust them upwards to this pinnacle of economic strength and freedom, and to see those people go, I did this. I'm the best. I'm here for me. I did it. Jesus Christ. Like, Jesus Christ. And if you really find that boomer type who, like, is in the place that I am at, where they understand that, like, climate change is a force sent from God to punish us for our foolishness. You want to get, like, really deep about it? Like, a force of nature is coming to destroy us because we refuse to acknowledge our place. We refuse to humble ourselves at the altar of the universe. The universe has rules, obviously. The universe operates in a balance, obviously. We are obviously pushing the universe out of this balance, and it will happily wipe us out. It won't even notice it's done it because the system is automated. It will simply go, oh, there must have been something, if it even deigns to look, if it even bothers to look, it will go, oh, there just must have been something that came out of balance and this planet just got desertified, which is what will happen. Oh, the oceans were acidified. Yeah, something must have happened. And then it'll just continue on its merry way and continue on its cycle. And if life returns to this plane, to this planet, uh, uh, maybe we'll have another crack at it. Maybe life will have another crack at it on the planet Earth. Or maybe we'll just turn into an ice ball. Right? Maybe we'll just turn into another dead rock floating around a burning star. We're squandering everything. We're squandering everything in like a necromantic ritual. We're squandering everything in this like necromancy that we're doing. We are taking the bones of our ancestors, which have been compressed through time into a liquid resource that we are pouring into machines that we have created, where we burn them. We burn them in order to make us go faster, in order to give us untold powers. 200 years ago, if we showed people what we were doing now, they would think that we are wizards. They would think that we are magical creatures. And we are doing it by burning the bones of our ancestors. If that's not necromancy, baby, like, what's necromancy? And we are going to eat. We are going to eat it. So we're burning the bones of our ancestors, and those ancestors are being released into the atmosphere. Right? That's what it is. Carbon is being released into the atmosphere.